Hello, Peter Hobart. It's Miss Ronke Jones. It's time for the monthly announcements. January, February, there were no announcements. And the reason why? We were very, very busy taking lots of very important tests. The tests you took in January and February was a way for you to show yourself, your teachers, and your families how you've grown as a learner. I hope that all of you really tried your hardest during your assessments. This month, we're going to listen to the third grade student council reps. They have nominated students, teachers, for Peter Hobart Pride. Let's take a listen and see who is showing Peter Hobart Pride. Today, the third grade student council representatives are here to nominate other students or adults who are showing Peter Hobart Pride. And here's my first student council rep. This is
Junior.
And Junior, you were talking about ways that you show Peter Hobart Pride. What are some ways that you show Peter Hobart Pride?
But like when I think something is nice or cool, I would keep it in my head and not talk about it.
And why do you do that?
To avoid making distractions and making noise, and then,
Well, you're really showing how to be respectful. You're being a respectful listener to your teacher, but you're still excited about what you learn. Thank you, Junior, for showing Peter Hobart Pride. Smile.
Hi, I'm Peter, and this is my friend Jacob, and Jacob shows Peter Hobart Pride by being respectful in class and doing his work instead of talking to others and making distractions. And he walks in the hall respectfully, and he isn't bouncing around.
Hi, I'm Eli, and this is my friend Justin. Justin shows Peter Hobart Pride by being respectful in the classroom and not whispering when other kids are whispering. Justin walks quietly in the halls, and he also is a good role model.
Hi, my name is Jordan, and this is my friend Macy, and she shows Peter Hobart Pride by trying her hardest in class and walking in the halls.
Hi, my name is Anna, and this is my friend Fable, and she shows Peter Hobart Pride by walking in the halls and helping.
Hi, my name is Jordan, and I nominate Julia, and she shows Peter Hobart Pride by walking in the halls and giving friendly reminders to people who are not listening.
Hello, my name is Sydney, and I nominated Jacob for showing Peter Hobart Pride. He shows it by walking in the halls and giving friendly reminders to other people that need it.
I'm here with Jack from Dr. Crone's fifth grade class. And Jack, there are these amazing projects here in the Media Center. Can you help us know what these projects are?
They are stories of mythology. We made them in Miss Armstrong's class, and we made our own story. We listened to a few, and we just did a project on, after we made our own, we did stuff on the story.
So you read a variety of myths, like Greek myths?
Yeah, and some Roman and a lot of other kinds too.
And that served as an inspiration for the students to create their own myths. What is the title of your story?
The Journey of Turgot.
And, what is it? Can you give me a summary? Don't tell me the whole story. What happens in your story?
A crew goes on a journey to the other side of Greece, and they bump into a bunch of other islands, and they finally make it there.
Okay, so you were inspired by some of the Greek myths. So when you come in the Media Center, take a time, look at these projects, and it might inspire you to write your own stories. Thank you. So here at Peter Hobart, we talk a lot about the action cycle. That's where you do something with what you know. And now I'd like to introduce you to some fourth graders. And these fourth graders are from Miss Crook's class. And first, I'm going to let them introduce themselves. This is...
I'm Thomas.
I'm Evelyn.
I'm Trey. I'm Wesley.
And the four of them have been putting up posters and information on our student action board. And I'm going to have them talk a little bit about the action that they took, but then the action that they're asking you to help them with. So they have here on our posters, you can see it says, "Say no to the light rail." Why is this important to you?
Because it won't be safe for the children to play in their backyard, maybe.
Evelyn, why is this important to you?
It'll make it unsafe for high schools to go to McDonald's.
Because some people might have to move, and other people, it might be someone else's best friend.
That a lot of people will go without homes, maybe even jobs for a while.
So this is a topic that's important to St. Louis Park. They're proposing putting in a light rail. Is a light rail similar to a train?
Yes, it is, but it goes much faster.
And so it's going to go through the proposal is for it to go through St. Louis Park. But I'm hearing the four of you saying that you don't think it's a good idea for it to go through St. Louis Park. And on their action board, there are reasons why they think that the light rail should be stopped. So stop by, read their posters, read their research on why they want to stop the light rail. It's time for the Kraft family update. The Kraft family have been very busy traveling the world. Where in the world are the Kraft family now?
Hello everyone and welcome back from the holidays.
Our first destination in Australia was Western Australia. After a couple days in Perth, we flew to Exmouth, which is about 800 miles north of Perth. Our plan was to explore Cape Range National Park and the Ningaloo Reef.
From Exmouth, we drove all the way down the coast back to Perth in a car that had a pop-up tent on the roof with a mattress inside. It turned out to be a great way to travel. We could have this tent set up in about 5 minutes, and the four of us fit inside pretty comfortably.
In the Cape Range National Park, one of the first things you notice is that the landscape is dry, desert-like, and has very few people. We experienced a lot of this kind of landscape during our week and a half in Western Australia. When you hear the term outback, this is very often what people in Australia mean. The outback is beautiful in its own way, with impressive scenery and wildlife, including lots of roaming red kangaroos.
Long ago, when sea levels were higher, this peninsula was an island. The ridges, which are like small mountains, were formed at a fault line in the Earth's crust. This is where two parts of the crust were pushing together, pushing up the ridges. The rock is mostly limestone, which is soft. It was eroded by water and wind over hundreds of thousands of years to form these gorges.
Here are some of the animals we saw. Galah birds, also called rose-breasted cockatoos, they're very common throughout Australia. Crested pigeon, we were calling it the mohawk bird until we were able to figure out what it was. Osprey, An emu. These are huge and very funny birds. Sometimes they came wandering through our campsites. Australian pelican. These are similar to the pelicans we saw in the Galapagos, except they are white. A red kangaroo. Here are two that came right through our campsite. In these video clips of these two kangaroos, watch at the end as we zoom into the pouch of the larger one. It turns out she's a mama, and you can see a baby called a joey move around inside her pouch.
You don't see much fresh water in this part of the country, and water conservation is a huge issue. Every place we stayed, there were signs to keep showers to just a few minutes and to use water sparingly. Nearly every toilet is a dual flush toilet, so you can flush more or less water depending on what you need. The only other place we've seen such a focus on water conservation was around Arequipa and the Colca Canyon in Peru.
Our main reason for coming to this area was Ningaloo Reef. Most people have heard of the Great Barrier Reef on the east coast of Australia. Ningaloo is much less well known, but also spectacular. This video of the reef is from Tom Holmes and Sean Wilson, friends we made at the Australian Department of Parks and Wildlife.
Coral is actually a living thing, or many living things. Coral is created by tiny animals called coral polyps. Coral reefs are a very important part of the ocean. They provide both food and habitats for a lot of marine life. You can think of them almost like rainforests of the ocean.
There are two kinds of reefs, fringing reefs and barrier reefs. Ningaloo is a fringing reef. Fringing reefs fringe land, meaning they are very close to the shore. Ningaloo Reef often comes to within about 100 yards from shore, or the length of a football field. The area between the reef and shore is very shallow, and sometimes there are even coral patches coming almost all the way into the shore.
Barrier reefs, like the Great Barrier Reef, can be quite a distance from shore. The Great Barrier Reef is between 10 and 100 miles from shore, and between a barrier reef and shore, the water can be very deep. We did a lot of snorkeling near the Ningaloo Reef. This is us at Turquoise Bay, our favorite snorkeling location. One of the highlights was that we saw several sea turtles and were floating over them for 5 to 10 minutes.
Coral reefs all around the world are in real trouble from climate change. Climate change is being caused by the increasing amounts of greenhouse gases people are putting in the air. The most common greenhouse gas is carbon dioxide, which primarily comes from the burning of fossil fuels like oil, gasoline, coal, and natural gas. Greenhouse gases act like a blanket around the Earth, and the increase in greenhouse gases is making the Earth warmer. As the air warms, the oceans absorb some of this heat from the air and also get warmer. The actual temperature changes in degrees can seem pretty small, about 1 to 3 degrees Fahrenheit in average air temperatures, for example. But small changes like this can have big impacts.
Watch this video and you can see the difference between a living reef and a bleached dead reef. This is the Boondagai area of the Ningaloo Reef before and after the bleaching happened.
Reefs can sometimes recover from bleaching if the bleaching isn't too bad or if the water stays at the right temperature for a long enough period of time. Unfortunately, so far, the Boondagai area of the Ningaloo Reef has not recovered.
Coral needs a certain water temperature to live. If temperatures get too high, the coral begins to die and turn white. This is called bleaching. A lot of bleaching happened on part of Ningaloo Reef in 2010 and 2011. It was caused by a cold water current getting warmer for a period of time. You have been looking at close-ups of bleached coral.
Another thing that happens with more carbon dioxide in the air is that the oceans absorb some of it into the water. This makes the oceans more acidic. This is a hard concept to explain, but think about a glass of milk, which is not very acidic, and a glass of grapefruit juice, which is quite acidic. A more acidic ocean is not as nice of a place for coral polyps to live. The result is that the coral created by the polyps is actually less strong, making it easier to break or be destroyed in a storm.
One of the most important things we can do to help coral reefs is to reduce the amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. We can do this by planting more trees which convert carbon dioxide to oxygen, and especially by reducing the amount of fossil fuels that we burn.
People can help by driving less, driving cars that use less gas, and using less energy at home or work, like turning off lights, TVs, and computers when they're not being used. People can also use other sources of energy like solar power and wind power. This is a post about Vietnam. First, in Vietnam, we went to Hanoi. In Hanoi, there were lots of motorcycles. The biggest city in the U.S. wouldn't have as many. And there were hardly any cars. One of the things we did in Hanoi was go to a water puppet show. People were behind a curtain in waist-deep water with their puppets coming out in front of the curtain. The puppets were in the water also. They showed things like people fishing and 4 sacred animals: phoenix, dragon, unicorn, and turtle. We went to 2 museums, the Women's Museum and the Vietnamese History Museum. In Hanoi, we also went to a place called ENV. They protect animals by teaching people about them. We learned about people taking rhinoceros horns and using them for medicines. People think these kinds of medicines help, but they don't. ENV was also saving tigers because people also use tigers in medicines. ENV is also trying to save brown bears, which are kept on bear farms. They use the bear's bile, which is a fluid, for medicine and even toothpaste. Next, we went to Ha Long Bay. First, we hiked around in a natural cave. We saw a lot of natural sculptures. One looked exactly like a turtle, and people put money by the turtle because people think it's sacred. After, we went kayaking around the floating village and the limestone pinnacles in the ocean. The next place we went to was Cuc Phuong. In Cuc Phuong, we went to rescue centers. One of them was the primate rescue center. We saw some monkeys and other primates. One type of primate that we saw were called lorises, which are nocturnal. A type of monkey that we saw were langurs, and there were other monkeys there also. The other rescue center that we went to was a turtle rescue center. They have 600 turtles there. One turtle we saw was the red-eared slider. They are one of the most invasive species of animal in the world. They are from the U.S. There were other turtles in there also. The next place we went to was Saigon. In Saigon, we went to a pagoda, a temple, and a mosque. Here are some pictures of the pagoda. The temple we went to was a Cao Dai temple. Here are some pictures. At the mosque we went to, people practice Islam, which is a type of religion. In Saigon, there were a lot of motorcycles, just like Hanoi. In Saigon, there are 7 million motorcycles. The next place we went to was Kanto. In Kanto, we went to a homestay. At the homestay, we went fishing in the fish farm. Here are some pictures of us fishing.
There you go. One.
We also made origami paper boats. The paper boats had candles inside them, and we put the paper boats in a tiny pond that they had inside the homestay. Vietnam was so fun!